Ken Wilber said, sex isn't bad, bad sex is bad. Which reminds me a little of the joke that sex is a lot like pizza in that when it's good, it's really good. But when it's bad, it's still pretty good. Anyhow, sex isn't bad, bad sex is bad. What does that mean? It means that repressed sexuality is the root of sexual dysfunction, just like repressed anger and hurt is the root of depression, anxiety, chronic pain, and addiction. And by the way, if you've repressed these emotions since childhood, then your natural sexuality gets repressed right along with them. So how do we know if we're sexually repressed? Well, there's typically two ways that it manifests, and sometimes both of these ways happen in the same person. Number one, whether it's in ourselves or other people, we hate, judge, shame, and are afraid of sex and sexuality. Like Wilber said, bad sex is bad. So we have a negative view of sex. And most people that have this tend to identify more as good people, right? Number two is more surprising. We're obsessed with sex. We can't get enough of it. Maybe it's addictive or compulsive, but this is a manifestation of sexual repression because it's sort of like the don't put your hand in the cookie jar thing, right? Like, well, if I can't have this and there's programming that says it's not allowed, I'm gonna have it all the time. And these people, of course, typically tend to identify themselves as bad people, though they probably wouldn't admit that. But the point is, do you see how sexual repression, just like emotional repression, compels us into identities? That when we push down what's true, in this case, sexuality, we're forced to identify with what's false. In this case, I'm a good person or I'm a bad person. There's the indicator of repression in general, that you believe something about yourself that's not true. So what can be done about all this? Well, just like we can reverse and resolve emotional repression, we can reverse and resolve sexual repression. The repression is really just layers of accumulated frozen fear in the body that sort of surround the buried emotions and energies. So we first want to progressively and skillfully make that fear conscious. This is the work that we do in the Killer Bee inquiries. And as we do it, identities fall away and sex ceases to be bad or compulsive. It just becomes sex, like sneezing or something. It's simple. If this sounds liberating to you, visit repressiontest.com.